Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brews with Brian, a craft beer review podcast. Now, craft beer is beer that is brewed in smaller breweries, not these big corporate machine breweries that we're all aware of. I got into craft beer probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it's totally changed my outlook on the beer world. The styles, the complexities, just the flavors has totally blown my mind. I didn't know all this existed till I got into craft beer. This is episode 10. A milestone for me personally. I didn't think the show would ever make it this far. I didn't think I'd have enough listeners to keep it going, but I have, and I thank everybody that's been listening. But today's episode, I'm going to do beer on the other side, the beer that I've told you to stay away from. Bud Light, Coors Light, and Miller Lite. So this show should be interesting. I imagine you can probably guess what I'm going to say about it. But just sit back and we'll kick this show off. Our first beer on this very special episode is Bud Light. Bud Light is from Anheuser-Busch out of St. Louis, Missouri. Bud Light has an ABV of 4.2% and it's available year-round. The description from the website says Bud Light is brewed using a blend of premium aroma hop varieties, both American-grown and imported, and a combination of barley malts and rice. Its superior drinkability and refreshing flavor makes it the world's favorite light beer. Now, Bud Light pours a crystal clear straw color, topped with a towering head of white foam that recedes quickly to a thin cap and slightly frothy collar. Aromas of skunk with an offensiveness approaching that of an empty dumpster sitting in the sun. Following are light tones of corn and grain, teamed with sugar water. Tasting this beer shows there's something vaguely floral off in the distance, but it soon fades and it's all left with rice water and grain from there. I really can't say much else about this beer regarding the taste. There's just nothing else there. It's very light, very bland. This beer has a finish so watery, you find yourself questioning if it's even beer anymore. This beer brings next to nothing to the table, and even what it does bring is not appealing. Listen to me when I tell you, avoid this beer at all cost. Buy some good beer, something with flavor and positive characteristics. Overall, I'm giving Bud Light 1 star. Next up on the show, we have Coors Light. Coors Light is from Coors Brewing Company from Golden, Colorado. It's got an ABV of 4.2%, and it's available year-round. The description from the website says, Coors Light is Coors Brewing Company's largest selling brand and the 4th best-selling beer in the U.S. Introduced in 1978, Coors Light has been a favorite in delivering the ultimate in cold refreshment for more than 25 years. The simple, silver-toned can caught people's attention, and the brew became nicknamed the Silver Bullet. Now, for me, that's what I feel like I need for drinking this thing, is a bullet. This beer pours a light yellow color, off-white head that dissipates very quickly, aromas of corn, some grains, and something sweet, and it smells like an additive sweetness, sort of like corn syrup. The taste follows the aroma, grains, a hint of sweetness. But this thing is very, very watery with no hop presence at all, which is something you need in beer, or I think you do at least. Overall, this beer is another big box corporate beer. There's nothing special at all about it, no redeeming qualities. If you're just looking to get drunk and not actually enjoy what you are drinking, then I guess you could go for this. But this thing is not for me. I mean, it is hard for me to believe that people actually think this is what good beer is, because there's so many other beer in the craft beer world that is better than this. Like I said, just try something else. This one isn't for me. So overall, I'm giving Coors Light 1 star. And the last beer on today's episode is Miller Lite. Miller Lite is from Miller Brewing Company from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's got an ABV of 4.2, just like all the other beer I just reviewed. And, of course, it's available year-round. You can get this stuff anytime. I don't know why you would, but you can. The description from the website says, our flagship brand, Miller Lite, is the great-tasting, less-filling beer that defined the American light beer category in 1975. And this beer pours a pale straw color. The head dissipates to nothing pretty quickly. Lots of carbonation bubbles streaming to the top of the glass. But it's not super appealing, just like the rest of them have been. Aromas of very light and sweet generic cereal grains. A light metallic and sulfur aroma is there as well. All the aromas are barely perceptible. This thing is just so bland and light. Just neutral all around the nose. Tasting this beer, it's very light cereal grain up front. Quite dry all around. No sweetness hardly. A mellow, grassy hoppiness in the finish. Once again, a very neutral experience. Overall, this is just another watery, light, bland beer. Perfect for college-age people with no idea what good beer tastes like. But stay away from this one, just like the other two. Or at least get away from this beer as soon as you can. I understand if you don't have access to good beer that you just can't buy it. But search out for craft beer. Any kind, no matter what you get, will be better than this beer. But overall, I'm giving Miller Lite 1 star. And that is it for episode 10 of Brews with Brian. On today's episode, I reviewed Bud Light, Coors Light, and Miller Lite. This show is a milestone for me because I didn't think this show was going to make it that long. I thought that I wouldn't have any listeners, and just judging by the amount of listeners that I've gotten, I'm pretty confident that this show is going to continue for a long time. I told everybody last week or the week before that the shows went international, that we actually have a listener in France, and whoever it is in France, if you're listening now, thank you very much. I think I'm in 8 states in the U.S. It's just incredible. I didn't expect this at all, but I wanted to make episode 10 something special. So I give you a look at the other side of the beer world, these big corporate machine beers. And I didn't like it, judging by the episode. I hope everybody transitions to craft beer, because there's just so much more complexity, the flavors are better, and it's just an overall better product. Now that's not to be negative on the people who make these beers, because they hire the best brewers in the world to make the same product over and over again without a change in it. So nothing bad to say about the people making it, it's just the product is not good. I wish they worked in the craft beer world and then we'd have just amazing beer constantly. I just want to thank everybody again for supporting the show. You can check us out on social media at Twitter, Brews W. Brian, Instagram, Brews with Brian, and Facebook, Brews with Brian. The show is available on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. So support them. Subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want to do. Everything's appreciated. And we'll see you next time.